All right. Welcome, everybody. Let me make sure that everything is actually up and operational here. Got the mic sources hot. Yep. Mic is good. Oh, media source isn't good. We need to loop that bad boy so we get some music. Don't want no dead air. Infinite screen. Welcome, everybody. For those that are there, looks like one of you has joined thus far. We may get more, we may not. I will not be using the built-in YouTube chat. I'm just not really set up for it today. This was kind of thrown together because I forgot yesterday because of a scheduling conflict to pre-authorize the YouTube channel for Crystal Bitoreum. So we're using the main company, the company that's funding all of this, to make an official announcement. The Bitoreum project is basically dead. It's been without a runner for 2 years. The websites are down. A lot of it is just broken. The app couldn't compile, yada, yada, yada. So, my name is Ramen Wukong. Most of you have known me over the years as None You Damn Business or None You Business as a running joke. I finally picked a name that has a bit more oomph to it. Anyway, let's get that out of the way. Oh, it's at 0 users. I'm sorry, I'm looking at something else. Gotta look at my screen. So currently there is nobody watching. It's all good. This is to serve as an official notice of the Crystal Bitoreum's project intent to continue on with the Bitoreum project. First and foremost, we have an official website, bitoreum.cc. It has the current white papers, as you can see here. We have an explorer. It is synced. It's re-indexing now. Clearly, the symbol is offline. The master nodes are offline. The price isn't working. The market cap needs to be fixed. The coin supply, things like that, small tweaks. But the biggest thing was getting this indexed here. Some of this works because it's based on things. Cool. So we do actually have. Oops, I didn't mean to actually click on that and bring it up in that screen. That was my bad. Thank you, Logos. Um, so some of this stuff does work. Obviously, some of the symbols need work, things of that nature. Right. So these things need to be fixed, but at least its main is up and operational. So back to this. This is our main site. As you can see, the Explorer there. We have a link to join us on the Discord for the new Crystal Bitoreum Discord. I do monitor the old one, the original Bitoreum, but I don't have any more authority on that one except to like ban, timeout. I don't even think I can ban. I think I can kick people off the server. Marius had made me a pseudo moderator before he disappeared, but I don't really follow it too much. So the big talking point is why I did this video at all, and that is to show you more than a screen cap. We do have a working version of Crystal Bitoreum 4.0.0.0. It's pseudo working, meaning I can compile it for modern operating systems. It runs. There are some functionality of it that's broken, but it restored a lot more than it broke. Marius left off in development for Ubuntu 18.04 and was using cross development for then. So while it will definitely run on Windows 10, it may or may not run on Windows or 11. I had some issues, but more importantly, this wouldn't run on Mint 22, which is what this operating system that you're looking at is. Um, so, yeah, there are some known facts. This is a primary reason of one of the things that needs to be fixed. This is a fake node. I created it, meaning that it will pay me Bitoreum for operating this, but I do not control the domain 1.0.0.1. For any of you tech nerds out there that know what that IP is and realize why that's funny. 3 of these actually still do exist, although I will probably be remaking this whole list of smart nodes into real smart nodes over the coming week. I just have run out of time. 3 of these are valid, 3 of these are not, but this enlists the problem. Chain links was disabled, so it's not effectively working, meaning that nothing ever gets banned. And quorum doesn't actually work. It says it works, but it really doesn't. So that is just a quick overview of that. You can follow along with us on the GitHub, which is Nikovash Bitoreum instead of Bitoreum, which was forked from the original branch. As you can see here, I did actually fork it. If you come over and follow to us, you don't actually want to touch the main. This is basically, for all practical purposes, just the where Marius left off with the project. The one that I'm actively working out, you can ignore that. That's just for me testing because I'm not really good with the YAML build for GitHub yet. I've never used GitHub to actually compile software. I've normally done it directly on computers or in an IDE like LiveCode, Virtual Studio, things like that. So this is my first real experience with playing with GitHub, and it's a bit interesting. But the official branch that I'm working out of right now is 4.0.0. You can actually use this to make software. Whether or not it'll actually run, there's a couple of caveats. I kind of pseudo broke something, so it'll run, but it may unexpectedly fail. So I am asking people not to run this yet until it is officially announced that this is ready, and you will see it in the release candidate under main. Actually, I think all of them will show up under the releases for main. Once you see releases there, then it'll be go ahead. Then I'll make an announcement on both the Bitoreum original one and the Crystal Bitoreum, and then I'll just kind of monitor the Bitoreum network in case new people try to join over there. I can't stop you from joining over there, and I don't really want to. If Marius ever comes back, great, I guess, but it's been 2 years now, and that's kind of what prompted me to do this. The exchanges are starting to delist, and certain mining pools are starting to delist. The intent here, let's see if I can do this fast. There we go. We do have kind of a roadmap over here for things that I want to get done. Obviously, we want to build and fix the wallet from Core 3.0.2, which is the last version that Marius released, into 4.0.0.0, forgot one more zero, and bring it into compliance with Ubuntu 22 and 24, as GitHub is deprecating 20.04, which I've run into problems. Basically, this is completed because you can actually build it, and it will compile for those operating systems, and we're good to go. But I still need to do the next step. There were 6 major bugs that I was aware of. There's a bunch of minor bugs and icon things that need to be changed too, but those don't concern me at this point. I have corrected 3.5 of the 6 bugs that, the major bugs that I think. That is the next thing to really get done. We built a new website, but obviously it's just the one page in the Explorer. Nothing really has been done over there. That's kind of a work in progress. Once we get a working version, I will distribute it to the mining pool operators. I have been talking with some of them. They are okay as long as I can get it on GitHub so it can be validated, which is perfectly fine. Nobody on the internet wants to take a random build from anybody, and wholeheartedly 100% agree. Plus, a lot of people don't want to compile from scratch, and I also don't blame you either. So the Explorer is up and operational, but as we've said, there are some issues. So it is synced, and we need some editing to make the UI work. So it's not completed yet. When you join the Discord, you'll be able to get access to a lot of this kind of stuff. The main stuff is over here under Space Monkeys, and this was the hint before the build to say that yes, as a matter of fact, I have a working version on Windows 11. Why that was critical is that Windows 10 would sometimes use the old wallet. Windows 11 would often reject it. When running the installer, you will still have to say, hey, or it'll still say, hey, this is pretty unsecured. You shouldn't run it. You're going to have to say more options, and yes, go ahead and run this anyway if you want to. I was playing around with this wallet. This wallet is neat and it works. It actually works pretty well. There are 2 features that are broken, but they're not critical to the wallet's use and operational, and it deals with coin join, but I'm not even 100% sure this ever worked on the Bitoreum network because I've never used it. I would like to look into that feature in the future. Some notes is if you are building from scratch, I will have a bootstrap available on Bitoreum.cc in the very near future, and then obviously I'll have a link to it in the releases once we go live. When you do, so the biggest problem right now is that the peers that these apps try to initially make contact with, because the peers are broken. That was one of the things on the website. If you come over here and say network, most of these don't work. Some of them do. I think one of them does. One or two of them may. Um, Most of these don't. I found. I wish that I could get better propagation results with actual peers, but I haven't really looked into that too far. And as you see, everybody's still using the old wallet, which I can't really prevent because right now, to my knowledge, I'm the only one that actually has a working version of 4, as I built it from scratch and had to patch a lot of the threading hooks, which was one of the biggest reasons why it wouldn't. So yeah, you'll come to here and there'll be just a link, just very much like this. It'll say Bootstrap. It'll download. It's quite large. I think the file's like 2 point something gigs, and it's a zipped file. So when you take it over to wherever you're going to install it, either Windows or Linux, you will have to put it into your um, Bitoreum core folder. You know, when you set up the app, the first time that you set up the app, you're going to say, "Hey, where is this stuff in?" And it'll tell you. So I'm using that folder path. Basically, you would extract the bootstrap into there before running the application for the first time, because it's pretty much synced to the current block, and you'll be almost instantaneously in. If you don't, it will stall because the peer networks are not accurate, and you will have to come to our GitHub. I'm sorry, our Discord, and I do kind of have a list of a couple of known good peers that you can use, and then it will start self-propagating and saying, "Oh, hey, yeah, these are a good peer list." This is apt to change because sometimes these go offline for God knows what reason. Sometimes they're fake, and the fake ones, at least in this app, will start getting banned, but that's just relative to your application, not to the entire network. That is coming when 4.0 finishes. That is actually one of the things I really did want to address, was actually banning people, or I guess bad smart nodes on the network. Um, so that is something that should be coming. We should have a working copy of this software in the next couple of weeks. I have to be out of town for the next 3 days. I have a real job. I'm an insurance agent by trade, and I do software development for myself and for other companies, building utility software and things like that. And that was kind of where I got involved. I've been involved in several projects that are like cousins or brothers or sisters to this application that were all kind of forks of both Dash, Raptorium, which this was clearly ripped right from Raptorium, which I think is the reason for the long-standing beef between the Bitoreum community and the owner of Raptorium, and understandably so. But I do want to say, well, I did work with Marius, um, and I don't really care what the beef was. It ends, right? I have been independently building, and yes, outside of the fact that the core software was pretty much a direct rip from Raptorium, I acknowledge that fact, but getting it up to where it is thus far and how I'm going to get it across the finish line, at that point in time, this is purely my code, so it's not even really Bitoreum anymore, so hence the name. As you can see right here, we have changed it to Crystal Bitoreum, as in Crystal Pepsi. That was kind of the running joke about that, and that should also show up here. And I'm not even sure. Okay, so that logo actually looks correct, but when I went to install it, I very clearly saw a Raptorium logo. So yes, that does need to change. I pre-apologize about that to the Raptorium guys. I didn't even think about the icon coding when I was building this. I just wanted to make a stable build, and we are there. By the time that we do have a 4.0 stable release, I will try to make my best efforts to remove your guys' logo, because I'm pretty sure, well, we will have no beef going forward. I do not want to piss you guys off right out the jump by have you saying, "Oh, they stole our logo." That was not my intent. As a matter of fact, I have a team right now working on creating a new logo that'll even differentiate it from this one, which is the classic Bitoreum logo. Bitoreum is dead. Right? That's the official announcement. Bitoreum is no more. I'm not changing the coin. I'm not changing the tokens. I am changing how the company, or not company, the organization will go forward. While I am taking control of the project now, I would like a lot more community outreach and support so that way I can start passing off the project to those of us that have stuck around and made the community what it is. And at some point in time, I do intend to step down outside of running the GitHub, running the website, running the Explorer, modifying, changing that, and keeping the network up to date for as long as humanly possible. My intent is to one day, once the project gets big enough, I can actually release it to key members of the community, and then they can continue to run it however they see fit. Even if that means if they want to shut it down in the future, that's perfectly okay. I just didn't want to see this application die prematurely. That's basically it. I want to have these videos every week to kind of show you where the progress is with this application, our website. I'm really hoping by next week that this will be a little bit more refined in both how it looks, the Explorer. Clearly, the hash rate isn't showing. I haven't done anything to tie this in with real data except to do the main indexing. I added the peers, I think. Yeah, I'm not sure if that actually works. It may or may not. Don't try it. The movement was automatically synced with the re-indexing. Clearly, the master nodes don't work, and those need to be renamed smart nodes anyway. I know, oh yeah, they call it something else. They call it network, and it really should be network peers or just peers, I think is a better name. This needs to be fixed. This is accurate, by the way. This is actually the data coming from the chain, and one of the things that I do want to address is for how to correct nodes that aren't there anymore, because a lot of these nodes are not online and available. They say they are, right? But they're not, and there's no punishment system that's in place. That was one of the things that was disabled before Marius disappeared. So the intent is that this software will run on modern operating systems, and it will start enforcing punishments on the network for those who are behaving inappropriately. And to be fair, as I have explained, and I'm upfront about this, I have nodes that don't operate in this way. The 1.0.0.1, if people don't know what that is, that's this. It is Cloudflare's DNS, right? Same thing. Clearly, I don't own that domain, but the smart node does actually work, and it does pay rewards on that. That has to stop in order for this network to be taken serious. But the Explorer coming up and online, that should keep us listed on exchanges. Fixing the software in the next couple of weeks, and then getting that fast-tracked out to the mining pool operators, which, by the way, thank you for your support. I know that I had nothing really to do with the project for the last 2 years, but really, sincerely, thank you for continuing to keep us on your mining algorithm or mining pools. That's been a huge help and kind of the reason even why I continue to do this. My focus will not be to create miners, will not be to create mining applications, things like that. We will continue to support smart node setups. That is something I do want to release in the next week or two, is a walkthrough, which will look very similar to other projects that I may or may not have had a hand in also helping them with their walkthrough. But yeah, I do want to create a document for both generic VPSs and Oracle. Oracle's a little bit more trickier. So that'll be coming in at least a text document about the next week or so. A video may be coming in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about making those kind of videos, because all the nodes that I have access to, I don't want information about those nodes getting out. So I may have to spin up a dummy VPS just to create a node to basically instantly destroy it, which to me seems wasteful, but hey, what are you going to do? Anyway, that's it. I don't see any questions either coming up on the YouTube application. I do have the little one here. Let me double check OBS. Oh, we do have a couple of viewers. We have 3 and there were 5 there. I don't see any chats or questions. So I will go ahead and end it here. In the future, I do want to have these videos to kind of be about a half hour or less. Obviously, if it's a huge update, like, huge major world shattering events, those are going to be posted. I think this in and of its own right is huge. The fact that we actually do have a valid, and the reason you can see it's valid right here. Will the current coin be accepted? Yes, Todd. The current coin, we're not changing anything. The token still will be BTRM on exchanges. I have no plans to change that. I'm just calling it Crystal Bitoreum for a naming convention's sake. Bitoreum is effectively dead. At some point that application won't work anymore, and I'm not even going to have to punish people who use it. And I mean punish in the software sense. At some point that software is just going to fail completely on Windows, and the only way to get it to run, or you will be able to get it to run, is basically to get his source code, fork it, and play around with it yourself. So there are no plans to change the coin. The reward system might have to be modified. I have thought about increasing the smart node collateral to up it, and then establish quorum, so that way all of the current bad smart nodes will go offline. There are multiple ways in which I want to address that. I haven't really picked one yet because, like I said, my main focus was getting the software up and built. But to answer your question, the current coin will still be valid, meaning all coins mined up to this point are still valid and will still be valid on this chain. I can kind of show you that here. This is my current balance, what's left of my Bitoreum, and most of that is tied up in smart nodes anyway. And like I said, some of them are valid, some of them are not valid, but I have no plans to change this. I have no plans to change the call name, meaning that nothing actually changes about the network except the application will work. The chain locks will go into place. Quorum will be established, and in the future, smart nodes who don't operate within the valid parameters will fail. Our next videos hopefully will be on the Crystal Bitoreum channel, not the main company. Nikovash Empire is the main company that I run that deals with consignment sales, software development, things like that. So in the future, hop on our Discord server, which you can find here at the home of Bitoreum.cc. That is the official URL for the project. Right here, you will see Discord. You just have to hit join, and voila. See? You're good. It'll actually say, do you want to join? Obviously, I'm already joined, so I'm good. I don't want the app launched. But yeah, go ahead and feel free to ask questions over there. I can help you set up smart nodes if you want. I will be out of the office and unavailable for help really for the next 2 or 3 days. I've got a series of annual doctor's visits that I don't really want to go to, but it is what it is. I'm not in bad health. They all back to back to back. One Monday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday. So I'm not going to be in the office because F that. Anyway, let's see here. Will more ports be open per public addresses? Care to expand on that? What do you mean by ports be open per public IP address? I hate dead air, but not exactly sure what you're asking. And I think there's also a delay. And maybe the chat isn't. I don't remember. I don't remember if I set up slow reply. No, it's 15168. And no, that's not going to change. So that's actually baked into the code, and I had no plans to change it. So that port is for the network to operate. Yes. These chains don't like multiple ports. Typically, you would only define multiple ports for things like a test net or a debugging system, which basically, in essence, creates a whole nother chain. So no, and we're not the only ones that are subject to this. All of these kinds of fork derivative or dash fork derivatives, I guess, really operate that way, where there's this one port. There may be other ports for other functions to come in the future that would be open up, but for the main network to operate, the 15168 port will stay the same, uh, and there's no plans to change that. Uh, Mostly because it was already set in stone and established, and I come from a line of thought that if it works, don't break it. And I don't think to my knowledge, there's any other coin that uses that port. Yerbus uses, what is it, 15420. They use another one for their test net, which I'm not going to say. And then there's another port that they use for other functions that I'm aware of. But if you wanted to just operate on the main network, theirs is the 15420, and they don't have other ports availability. So basically, my point in that is that as things go forward and we have other availability of functions of the network, then yes, more ports would be used. But for now, the main network really just uses the 15168. There are no new plans to add other ports because really there's no function for that or need. Basically, if there's other things that you want the chain to do, there could be a need for it. Uh, but all the back end stuff that uses ports that I wouldn't disclose anyway. As an example, the Explorer uses a special port, things like that. So 1 IP per smart node for now. Um, that is something I had mentioned in one of the discords, and I don't remember whether it was the main one or the Crystal Bitoreum. In a short-term goal, but more like the end of this year, quarter 1, quarter 2 of next year, I want to enable IPv6. Right now, it's IPv4. You can operate a node, not a smart node. You can operate a regular node on IPv6, but largely the network is going to ignore it, even if you open up the port 15168. And that's because IPv4 was the only system that was coded in, and Marius really hated the idea of supporting IPv6. I'm not really sure why, or at least I don't remember why. He told me, but if I can remember what that was the reason. And right now it doesn't support IPv6, but I do know where the code availability is for that to come. So the advantage for that is like I have an Oracle VPS. So you basically can have unlimited IPv6 addresses per VLink, which is effing awesome. So then your VPS would be able to support up to what your hard drive size would be, and or your RAM capability is, because you're not really going to hit the CPU limitation there. But yeah, unfortunately for the time being, it's 1 IP per smart node because it's IPv4. Now, if your VNIC on your VPS had the ability to have two external IPs, not internal, these can't be LAN, these have to be two different connections to the internet, then you would be able to run them. Or if you had a computer, like the computer that I'm actually you're looking at right now, actually has 4 direct connections to the internet, because this is a special computer that ties into different ISP networks for various reasons. I would be able to set that up and say, hey, use this on the external, and that would be set up in your comp file for your Bitoreum node or wallet. You would say external IP equals blah, 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 and then followed by the port number 15168. And obviously, if it's an IPv6, it would then be bracketed. But so if you had one machine that had multiple external ports to the internet, then you could have multiple smart nodes running on a singular machine. But yeah, it's pretty safe to say 1 IP per smart node for the time being, because most VPSs, that's how they support it. Were there any other questions? Oh, Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I don't know if you caught it. I plan to have a text document that explains that, and that should be based on both a regular VPS and the Oracle ones, because Oracle, you need to do a couple of things extra that you wouldn't normally have to do. And why you would use Oracle is you can have their always free tier system, and then you would be able to create a smart node on Oracle, and then you could have up to theoretically 4 VPSs all running for free, which is awesome. But because Oracle is based on an enterprise level system, you have to set up ingress rules not only on the VPS itself, but in Oracle's folder. And right now, I don't know if I have a VPS platform that I would be able to do that on a live video. That would have to be something that I may have to record and not stream. And I typically like to stream those kind of things. But regardless, yes, uh, a video for smart node setup is absolutely required. I don't disagree with you. I'm hoping to have that by the end of June, but definitely a text document, walkthrough document in the next week or so. And then basically after about 5 o'clock today, I won't be able to help. Um, but let's see here. Monday, I'll be out all day. Tuesday, I think, is an earlier day for me. So by 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or negative 7 p.m. UTC, I may be able to help. Wednesday, I have more availability in the afternoon, but I also, because it's like super early in the morning, so I may be grouchy as shit Wednesday. Thursday is my first official day back, but go ahead and follow us in the Discord. And if I can't help you set up a smart node, I do know personally a couple of the users in there have not only helped set up smart nodes directly for the old Bitoreum network, they've also done it for compendium coins or coins that are very closely related to ours, or more importantly, we've all forked from Raptorium effectively. The setup process is basically the same. There's just a couple of verbiages that have changed, and obviously the port, um, things like that. So yeah, and I do want people to set up valid smart nodes because that has to happen. And then of course, walk you through the process on how to update proper installation, and then at some point in the near future, I will have a automatic updater that will allow you to install a smart node and then have a service running in the background that will kind of do everything for you. Who is pinging me now? Ha. Oh, yes. Unimportant to this. Important, but not important to this. Um, but yeah. Uh, were there any more questions that I could answer for you while we have you here? I should have the Jeopardy theme music playing in the background because I don't remember what the delay protocol is. So I'll ask something, and there's probably like a 7, 15, or 30-second delay between when they answer, I think. Which sounds about right, because I didn't think about setting this up, because I think the last time I used these streaming settings was to stream something I was getting spammed to shit for, so I had a pretty large delay there. Oh, and the About Us section of the app actually points to the right areas as well. So, like, you can use the app to get around. Once you have it installed, it'll take you to the places you need to be. All right. Well, it looks like we are finished. I will see you all. I'm going to try to keep the same schedule too. About 3 to 4 p.m. every Sunday. Um, Even if it's just audio, I do intend to at some point. No, I'm not going to get on camera, but I do have a piece of software that takes my voice and then maps it to an animated face. I greatly prefer that way. I'm not a vain prick. I don't really like having video out there, and And I also apologize for the bad microphone. It was the only one that I had that worked. I had a really nice microphone, but I couldn't get it up and operational. So that's something else I got to add to the list and figure out how to get more of. Nope. May have a question coming from there. Nope. Okay. I am going to end this now. Thank you so very much for joining us today. And, obviously I'm going to keep this up. You can go back and reference it. Do check us out. Bitoreum.cc should be in the description of this video. There should be some important links as well. Thank you so very much, and I will see you in a week.